Hello everyone. I'm Sneha from Group 10, and I, along with my group members Sayan and Prabal, will give the presentation for our Phase 2 project. The topic for the project is semantic image clustering using self-supervision. Next slide, please. As we all know that majority of the data available on the internet is unlabeled, and there's huge scope to get most out of this data. Natural language processing techniques like word vector representations have been taking leverage of huge text corpus by learning semantic meaning behind words in a self-supervised manner. However, in the field of computer vision, most of the applications use transfer learning, where the weights of a model are pre-trained on a huge labeled image corpus and is used to bootstrap the learning process. So by taking inspiration from NLP, there have been recent advancements in the computer vision domain. A self-supervised algorithm in computer vision learns the image representations by creating an artificial supervised learning task. And these representations are learned while minimizing the loss. Next slide, please. Next, we'll be talking about methodologies and levels of risk associated with these. In the low risk phase of our project, we experimented with different augmentation techniques for contrastive representation learning. Data augmentation can be considered as a systematic way to learn contrastive learning tasks. Next, for medium risk phase, we used self-supervised algorithm to learn visual representations of images. Self-supervised learning is a way of training a deep learning model with labels inherently obtained from the data itself. Next, in high risk category, we used the embeddings learned from previous tasks to cluster the images in various subcategories. We used visualizations to see if similar images are forming part of the same cluster or not. Next slide, please. The data that we have used is the CIFAR-10 dataset, which consists of 60,032 by 32 colored images belonging to 10 classes, with roughly 6,000 images per class. We made use of the dataset with low resolution images to decrease the training and computation time. The figure on the slide represents the 10 classes we have in our dataset. Next, Sayan will take you through.
Thank you, Sneha. The architecture of the network that we used is shown here. As you can see, firstly, we normalize our image data by dividing each pixel with the maximum value, and then the data flows in the network according to the architecture shown here. The network generates random augmentations of each image, and then these images are encoded using a ResNet50 encoder. Encoded vector representations are projected onto a latent space by using a custom CNN network. Then the network uses a contrastive loss function to train the vector representation of images such that it tries to maximize the similarity of image and its augmentation and minimize the similarity with the rest of the images. After minimizing the loss, the network learns to encode the images as meaningful representations in the latent space. These representations are meaningful in the sense that visually similar images will have similarities between their encoded vectors. Next slide, please. So let's look briefly at how we performed image augmentations for our contrastive learning task. We know that we can perform image augmentation by any method as shown in the figure. We can do image cropping, resizing, color distortion, turning image into grayscale, rotating the images at different angles, etc. So we take any random combination of these and perform image augmentations. The number of augmentations is a hyperparameter. One important thing to note here is that in our code we created two augmented images for each image. We do this to create a positive pair of two augmented images for each image in the batch. Similarly, we also create negative pairs. Negative pairs are basically obtained by creating pairs between our augmented images and all the other images in the batch. So once we have the positive and the negative pairs, we want a model to learn the representations by maximizing the similarity between positive pairs and minimizing that between the negative pairs. This is done using the self-supervised contrastive loss. Next slide, please. Let us understand the learning process in detail for this setup. So basically, contrastive learning is a machine learning technique which is used to learn the general features of a dataset without labels by teaching the model which data points are similar or different. So in essence, we look at data points which are similar and different in order to learn the high level features about the data before even having a task such as classification or segmentation. For example, as shown in the slide, for an image X in the figure, we create two augmented images, Xi and Xj, and we want the model to learn that Xi and Xj are similar to each other. To do so, we feed these two images into a deep learning model, a big CNN such as ResNet, to create vector representation HI and HJ for each image. The output of the CNN encoder is then passed on to a set of dense layers called the projection head to transform the data as Zi and Zj vectors which are in the projection space. So once we have these two vectors representing the positive or the negative pair, we need a method to quantify the similarity between them. Since we are comparing two vectors, a natural choice is cosine similarity, which is based on the angle between the two vectors in space. It is logical that when vectors are closer and together in space, they are more similar. Thus, if we take the cosine angle between these two vectors as a metric, we'll get a high similarity when the angle is close to zero and a low similarity otherwise, which is exactly what we want. Then we import the similarity scores and true values, which are basically one, only for corresponding augmented images in a categorical cross entropy loss function, and train the model by minimizing it. Now I'll request Prabal to walk you through the impact and results.
Thank you, Sam. So after training the model for about 200 epochs, we were able to reduce the loss till 1.76. It took us about 5 hours to train the model on Google Colab using the GPU. After training, we chose 3 random images in the dataset and found their 3 nearest neighbors using cosine similarities. Between their learned representations, you can see that in the right picture, the top 3 neighbors of ship were 2 ships and a frog. The background of the image consisting frog is very similar to that of ships, and this might be one of the reasons that the latent representation of the image is very similar to that of a ship in a water. Similarly, for second image, the water in the background of the ship resembles with the sky in the airplane image, and hence the representations of these two images are very similar. In the third image, the model confused a deer in the grass with a horse because of similar structure. One thing to keep in mind is that these are very low resolution images, and it's confusing even for humans to decipher between these, and hence the model does a pretty decent job in representing these images. Next, we use semantic clustering to cluster our learned representations into 20 clusters. The clustering model is made up of 2 losses. First is clustering consistency loss. This loss tries to make sure the neighbors of the image have the same clustering assignments, and second is the clustering entropy loss. So this loss tries to make sure that cluster distribution is roughly uniform to avoid assigning most of the instances to one cluster. So the overall clustering model receives input image and its neighbors, produces the clusters assignments for them using the clustering model, and produces 2 outputs. First is similarity, the similarity between cluster assignments of the anchor image and its neighbor. This output is fed to the clustering consistency loss. The second thing produced is anchor clustering, which is cluster assignments of the images. This is fed to the clustering entropy loss. Then we try to minimize the joint loss in order to cluster our images into 20 clusters, and we will label each of these clusters based on the maximum images belonging to a single category. As you can see in the results, the left-hand image shows the different images belonging to a cluster. All the images aligned horizontally belongs to a single cluster. On the right, you can see the top graph that images are well distributed in the clusters, exception being cluster 3 where less than 1000 images are assigned. In the bottom right graph, you can see the cluster accuracy in each of the 20 clusters. The assigned cluster names are mentioned corresponding to each cluster number, and we can see a 30% cluster accuracy on an average. This clustering shows the power of learned representations. Even for these low resolution 32 cross 32 images, we were able to learn meaningful representations such that similar images were close to each other in latent space. Therefore, self-supervised learning can act as a base model for many image processing tasks where high resolution images are converted into meaningful vectors in low dimensional latent spaces. It is seen in some papers that if we have labeled data, we can use these embeddings as compared to transfer learning, the accuracy of models are even more. So next we'll discuss about the impact and future scope. There's a lot of impact that this project can make. Firstly, we have far more unlabeled data than labeled data, and this will help us utilize the vast amount of unlabeled images to improve the performance of already existing machine learning models. Next, the technique will help us to develop visual representations and can help us in discovering new augmentation strategies as we have seen in the project. Also, self-supervised tasks require different JAWS functions compared to supervised learning. Therefore, it will eventually lead us to better JAWSes for supervised learning algorithms as well. And lastly, these techniques can be very helpful to kickstart a project which has very small labeled data. Thank you, everyone.